I've learned so much about my homeland, about my country, in covering multiple presidential election cycles. I'm from the Midwest originally. I'm from a very actually small town in Indiana. And during the 2016 election cycle, I've written about this actually after that election was over, how challenging it was on a very personal level because there was a lot of what I would call inflammatory rhetoric, to be frank, at times directed towards Muslims, towards people of color. And yet, during that election cycle, my job was a beat that was focused on demographics and politics. It was focused on voters. And that meant that I interviewed a cross section of people: Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals, all sorts of people. And really, I had one mission in mind, which was to better understand why people felt a certain way and why they were supporting a particular candidate. But 2016 was challenging, if I'm honest, because it didn't feel like that empathy was always reciprocated. I now look at the 2020 election cycle, and quite frankly, I think that some of the opinions that we saw maybe in 2016 or 2018 feel even more cemented in people's views than they did in 2016. And I say that in part because, on both the left and the right, it feels like people are more animated. They're more angry than they were during that point in time. I don't meet large numbers of undecided voters. People have, for the most part, made up their mind. And it has, oftentimes, not always, but at times, fallen along racial or religious lines. And that poses a challenge, to someone like me to go out and to be able to get different voter perspectives. And it has been a lot of hard work. It's not a job I would trade for anything. I mean, it is an incredible, valuable job because I find that, one of the great blessings that I have is I am able to speak to so many different kinds of people that ultimately I come back with a real good understanding, I think, of where we are as a country. And there are definitely deep divisions about how people feel, and deep divisions about how they feel about a variety of things. You could argue about some of the racial changes in this country, about whether or not they think that, science around the pandemic is valid or not. And these are problems that I would argue, regardless of who wins, Donald Trump or Joe Biden, will continue to be factors for the next president to figure out how to resolve. I mean, these are not problems that are going away anytime soon. And I think that they're part of our political conversation, and they'll likely continue to be a part of that conversation.